one of our daughters says, well, let's go to Indiana and be with the grandparents. And the first thing I was like, why? Yeah, this is my time with you.
Like, what about me came out? Is that what happened?
So exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
I literally was reading What About Me. It's like, she's so right.
I have a book for every problem.
You do.
You do.
Yes. Are you ready to talk it out? I hope so, because we have the best group of women here that you could ever ask for.
Well, that's
and as
true.
you join us, exactly,
a loud group.
what else could we need? We've got Joyce, we've got Erin, and Holly Wagner with us.
Yay.
It's so good to have you back. We love having you with us.
I love being here. It's like talking to the girlfriends. It's the best.
Yes. Well, this is Christmas season, so everybody's
Did it feel like it came fast to you?
hurrying around. You know, it comes so quickly.
It does, every year.
Time flies. So, everybody's hustling and bustling and trying to do all the fun stuff and get all the work done. And so we thought we'd talk a little bit about Christmas with maybe a different attitude and maybe not missing out on some of the miracle moments that we might glaze over as we're trying to be too busy. So how do you guys feel about Christmas? Just honest answers. I love it. I feel a little overwhelmed. I'm ambivalent. What do you guys think?
I love it so much.
Yeah.
Next.
Me too. I'm all in.
Yeah.
I'm all in. I love it. I love like decorating the house. I love having lights on the outside. I put my lights on. Are you ready for this? Like November 1st. Like the house is decorated November 1st.
No Thanksgiving. You just go straight to
I
Christmas.
just go straight to Christmas.
Oh, I like it.
Because I love it. I love it so much. And so I'm like, why wouldn't I have it up for 2 months then?
Yeah.
And that's more and more common.
It is.
You
It
know,
is?
for
Okay,
a
well,
lot
I
of
don't
people.
feel so bad.
Yeah.
Do you do that? Do you decorate for Christmas early?
Well, I have it done.
Do you want me to come do your house November 1st, Joyce?
I don't exactly get on the roof and hang lights.
You're not hanging up those lights up there on the top.
I love Christmas. I think
Yeah.
that I think there's a huge problem though with people forgetting what Christmas is really about.
Yeah.
And it just gets so commercialized.
It does.
And that's what I would like to see people slow down enough to really pay attention to the Savior that is born then.
Yeah.
Or
I had
was
that-
born then.
I had that thought last year because I've got little kids, and so they have so many activities, and there's just all this fun stuff to do with them. But we got to the point I thought, I'd bet that if I asked them why they're so excited about Christmas, their first answer is not going to be Jesus.
It's going to be Santa Claus.
Yeah, it is. And so it just made me think, what am I teaching them by how I'm acting during this season? So it's an important conversation to have.
Good. It's good.
I remember when our grandson went to preschool for the first time and actually heard about Santa Claus. He didn't know what Santa was. And it's not because, we try to avoid it or anything like that. He was just little and it hadn't been a big deal at their house. And then he was like amazed, like, how could I not know about this gift-giving man for so long? It just changed everything for him.
That's so cute.
But it is so different for families to try to figure out how to balance all of that, how to have a great time and make it a magical season and keep the focus where it needs to be. And sometimes, it can be stressful, especially if maybe things are different for you this year. Like if you've had a loss in your family or you're going through some difficulties, or if your family is going to get together and you're not looking forward to it.
Oh, that wouldn't happen.
All those things that people deal with.
Yeah.
So we're going to start off by asking people if they're a Martha or a Mary. So here's Joyce teaching about the important difference of not letting important things pass you by because you're so busy, and then we'll get real practical on how to avoid some of those traps.
In Luke chapter 10, beginning in verse 38, we have the story that we call Mary and Martha. And some of you here today would be more like Mary, and some of you would be more like Martha. I, of course, am like Martha. And here's what we see. Now, while they were on their way, it occurred that Jesus entered a certain village, and a woman named Martha received and welcomed him into her house. She had a good heart. She even had a personal relationship with Jesus. They were friends. She was glad he was there, but I'm getting ready to show you that she didn't know how to enjoy him. She was too busy fixing everything, so it was just the way she thought it should be to actually enjoy him being there. Now, I don't know about you, but when I have company, when I have company, sometimes I'm so caught up in trying to take care of everything for the party that I never get around to enjoying the people that are there. And I overdo most things. I've usually got enough food last for 3 days after they're gone. And Martha didn't know how to have a party either and enjoy it. And she had a sister named Mary who seated herself at the Lord's feet and was listening to his teaching. Now, Mary had the ability to adjust and recognize what was the most important thing at the moment. Are you listening to me? What was the most important thing at the moment, and she knew how to submit some things to more important things and then get back to those other things when she needed to. Do you know that so many people, when they go out in the world, they are so focused on what they want to do and their plan that we miss so many what could be miraculous moments to speak a word in due season to somebody, to help somebody, to smile at somebody, to give somebody a compliment. And I don't know if you've ever heard me teach this or not, but I started about 2 years ago praying for what I call the gift of awareness. That I'm aware of what's going on around me. That I'm aware of what God is doing. There are so many things that God is doing in our lives that are so magnificent, and yet we can get so focused on this project we have, we don't want to miss the miracle of the moment. Amen? But Martha, overly occupied and too busy, was distracted with much serving and came up to him and said, "Lord, is it nothing to you that my sister has left me to serve alone?" Now she's even got a bad attitude because Mary is enjoying herself and she's not. And I don't know about you, but I was really bad about that. If I was working, I wanted everybody to work. And if I was working and Dave was enjoying watching a football game, I didn't like it that I was working, so I worked very loud. Do any of you ladies know anything about working loud? And of course, Dave just he's just so cute. He just kind of lives in his own little world. And I would march back and forth through the room where he was at, dragging the vacuum sweeper with me and huffing and puffing and slamming doors and drawers. And he just didn't. "Honey, if you're going to the kitchen, could you bring me an iced tea?"
So Joyce. That's such a great example and such a fun story. How have you adapted over the years?
Who says I have?
Yes.
I'd probably tell Dave, "Now get up and get your own tea."
Yeah.
But I understand what you're saying. Love the idea of working loud.
Yeah.
So that, a lot of sighs.
I wanted to make sure he knew I was working.
Right.
I never impressed him with that at all.
I told Mike yesterday, I said, one of the things that drives women the most crazy is when you take naps. Like, I cannot stand when you take a nap, because do you not see all of the things I need to do? And you're just laying on the couch taking a nap in the middle of the day?
No, I'm with you on that one.
Yes, thank you.
No,
Thank you.
because Philip can do that. He can take a 45-minute nap and and I'm like, do you understand the things that need to happen around here? So now he has a T-shirt that says, "Jesus took naps, be more like Jesus."
I'm going to buy that.
And I never want to see that shirt.
No.
Tim cannot often fall asleep at any given moment. So he can take a 2-minute power nap or he can take an hour nap, and he's just a happy camper.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I could do that.
Yeah. But you're talking about Martha or Mary, I am more of a Mary. Like, I like to make wonderful experiences for people. But once we get there, I am really all about enjoying that experience. And that's why at our family gatherings, I'm not allowed to bring anything other than paper goods. Because
fancy ones.
They know I'm not a cook. I'm not going to do all those things. I'm just going to sit around and make the party fun. So there are benefits. Don't you think we need both of those? We need those things to come together.
Yes.
But it's when we get out of balance that it's a problem.
We need a good mix. Jesus didn't tell Martha not to work. He told her not to worry.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
a
that's a
motive
good
has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's the one that invited him.
Yeah.
So it was her idea.
Yeah.
Right? To have him there. So if you're going to invite people over, there's a little bit of both needed.
Yeah.
And she was jealous of Mary doing something that she was free to do. But just didn't, obviously, there was a certain amount of preparation that needed to be made. But she apparently was going way overboard, or Jesus wouldn't have said to her what he did.
I could see myself being like that if Jesus was coming to my home. I'm like what you said, preparing is good. He is coming to your home. So to be prepared and get your home ready, and that's so good. I could see
Oh my
myself.
goodness, can you imagine?
No, the pressure. No, Jesus is coming to my home.
It's Jesus.
We'd have to impress him.
We have to impress him. We have to use the good silver and bring out the good towels.
Yes. But then I think I could see myself just getting caught in that, because some of that's my nature, is just to strive and to prove that, like, I have done all I can and I'm going to continue to work to earn your validation.
That's really a key there, isn't it?
Yeah. Where I'm missing something.
So we want people to enjoy this Christmas season and not just try so hard to make every little thing just right that they forget what it's all about. And, during the Christmas season, it's different for different people, but let's just say that you've always had a tradition in your family of everybody gets together at Mom's house for Christmas. But now you have 4 or 5 kids of your own, and they're getting to the point where they're grown, and you kind of really want to have your own Christmas. But it's so hard to tell Mom because she's going to get her feelings hurt. And so we've worked it out in our family to where we have our family Christmas before Christmas. So then each of the families can have their own Christmas on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. And a lot of it is just a mindset. It's just a mental adaptation. It's like, who says it has to be on a certain day? And so I think there's a lot of there's a lot of pressure that people can put on their children to be somewhere. And I told my kids from the get-go when they started, different ones of them getting married, I said, I'm not pressuring you to do anything. We'll work something out. If you need to be at your in-laws' house, then you be at your in-laws' house. I don't want you to feel pressured. We don't have to.
That would relieve a lot of
Absolutely.
people's angst at Christmas.
Just like my daughter and her husband, when they got married, he had 2 little girls. And so there's this blended family now. And so then that changes some of the dynamics. So you have to be flexible, to your point. It doesn't have to be on the day.
Right.
It's about the season. It's about Jesus. So celebrate it a different day as opposed to being so adamant,
Right.
If you need to. And then now she's a 911 operator. So she's not always going to get Christmas Day off. Right. So just learning to be flexible and relax with it.
I'll tell you my terrible story. I'll just share my shame openly with you.
Good, because should I get my notepad out?
Yeah. Sometimes, Joyce, you know how much I love you, and I just wish that you wouldn't say some of the things that you say in your books that make me feel, condemned when I when I should feel convicted.
Wow, I thought I was trying to cheer people up.
No, you're absolutely right. And so one of the things around the holidays is we were trying to figure out what to do for the holiday. And we live in 4 different states, right? So my husband and I, and then one set of our daughter and family, and the other set of daughter and family, and then all of our parents and the rest of our family, 4 different states. And so we were talking about what to do and where to meet, and I craved that time, with the kids and with everybody together. And one of our daughters says, "Well, let's go to Indiana and be with the grandparents." And the first thing I was like, why? Yeah, this is my time with you.
Like, what about me came out? Is that what happened?
So exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
I literally
That's good.
was reading What About Me, and it's like, she's so right.
I have a
And I had
book
to
for
change the
every
whole plan.
problem.
You do.
Yes.
You do.
Yes. And so I was like, how grateful am I that my kids want to be with their
Yeah.
grandparents?
Yeah,
What a
100%.
beautiful thing. And how much it means to the grandparents.
Yes.
So that's a much better answer. But for me, it was like, but that's going to take more of my time
Yeah.
away from them. And
Yeah.
so I really had to deal with that and not to expect it to be all
Yeah.
about me and adjust. And
All it is
So
a mind
glad.
adjustment.
It is. No,
Yeah.
you're
It's like
exactly right.
you just
Well, I think there's like even some of the practical things is that that time of year, there's, dozens of school plays and school Christmas
Right.
concerts. And then you've got office parties.
Exactly.
And all these parties that you feel this obligation to go to. And so let's just give people permission to say no.
Yeah.
yeah.
Right? So that you're not running from one party to the next and then,
Right.
trying to get all your shopping. Slow it down.
As a
good.
recipient of what y'all are talking about, so as a mom with little kids who grandparents want to see, I cannot tell you what it means to not have that pressure on, because my family and Mike's family are operating the way that you guys are talking about. And to hear my friends talk about like the drama that comes along with having
Right.
to set boundaries with family members is exhausting. And the weight of that during the season when we're supposed to be able to focus on family and spending time with Jesus, to have that added pressure in there is awful. So more women should be like the 3 of you, because it matters so much to us to not have to carry that.
right.
That's too hard.
Yeah.
Another thing I think we could talk about with Christmas is that I think a lot of people spend money that they don't have to spend
Ooh, let's talk about that.
out of obligation
Yeah.
to maybe buy somebody a gift that they don't even like.
Yeah.
Ooh. Why do you think we do that?
Just we feel obligated. They're going to get you a gift, so you feel like you need to get them a gift, and you've had a rough financial year, and you really shouldn't be spending. Some people even go into debt.
Yeah. So it becomes more people pleasing than it does trying
Right.
to bless somebody else.
And you're really not giving if you're giving with resentment.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not giving unless
Yeah.
you're giving it totally with the right
Sure.
motive. I want to bless you. Or you give a gift to somebody and they don't give you one back. And now you have your feelings hurt. Well, I gave you a gift and you didn't give me one. Well, there again, you didn't give the gift with the right motive.
Right.
Yeah.
You didn't give it to be a blessing. You gave it to cause them to feel indebted to you
Yeah.
to have to give you one.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of things, if we search our motives, we find that they're
Yeah,
just
that's
coming
true.
out of selfishness and self-centeredness or some kind of wrong expectation.
It's interesting how the holidays can bring out some of our things that are inside of us that we can hide sometimes, like our
Yeah, well, just I think as a child, right? It's about the wonder, it's about the presence, it's all of that. But then there comes a time when you have to put away childish things, and so then now we're of the age when it should be about giving,
Yeah.
right? It's about what can I do for somebody else as opposed to looking what's in this for me,
Yeah.
right? It's like what.
Yeah.
And then, like, even what you just said about gifts, I think there are things that we can give people that cost
Right.
nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Important things
Important
that they
things.
love.
Or, like
Yeah.
if it's time spent with someone, or write a letter. Remember that? That's paper. You have a pen and you actually write. Remember that?
I do.
Remember that? And like just about the things you love about them or something. That would mean more to me
Yeah.
than a sweater I don't need.
Right.
Right? So just, I
Yeah,
think there's things that we can give to people that don't cost money.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, and there's not a thing wrong with being honest and just say, hey, everybody,
Right.
I just want you to know we've had a little bit of a rough year financially, and this year I just can't buy gifts.
Yep.
It's very humbling.
Well, yeah, to be able to say that
Yeah.
out of honesty and love for someone else.
And if they really love
not
you,
with shame. Exactly.
they're not going to go, well, you didn't buy me a gift.
Right.
And what a difference it can make for families who might be going in debt.
Yeah.
Worse otherwise.
Absolutely.
Dave and I were talking the other day about our first Christmas, and of course, I had David when Dave and I got married, and he was he was born on December 18th. So when Christmas rolled around, he was just a year old, and Dave and I, he was 2, I guess, when this happened. So our first Christmas together, we'd been married a year. We didn't have any money. And we waited until Christmas Eve, and we walked up to the 5 and dime store when I'm old enough that they had those.
And it actually was a 5 and a dime.
Yeah, and it was. And they still had a Christmas tree stand up there, and the only tree they had really looked like the Charlie Brown tree. It had 3 branches on it, and we got it for $1 or something. And we took that home, and the only thing we could afford to buy him was a little truck. And but he wasn't unhappy. He was happy with his truck.
Mm-hmm.
And we hung 2 or 3 bulbs on the tree, and he didn't know the difference. And so really all you can do is what you can do, and then you don't need to worry about it or fret about it. Most people say when the holiday season is over, including New Year, I'm so glad, I'm so ready to get things back to normal. And so why do we have to make it so abnormal?
Yeah.
That we are glad when it's over.
Oh, that's good.
But I can hear a lot of people right now with what you're talking about with gift giving, saying, "Oh, I couldn't do that." Because that would be hard to say that we're not going to do this year. And so, how would you encourage people? Because when we do feel that way, it makes complete sense. I get it that people feel that way, and yet it's probably hurting them more. And it is out of, there are other ways to show people's love, like you were saying. So it is more out of not wanting to be embarrassed. So how would you encourage somebody that it's okay to make some really hard choices? You mentioned boundaries, to set some boundaries that are right for you or for your family.
Well, sometimes people give people gifts that they've made.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Maybe they make jelly or something, and they give people jelly, or maybe they're good at crafts, and they give people crafts. And I remember one year, and I don't remember who it was in the family, but they just said, we just didn't have a lot of money this year, and so we put time into this, and we give you our love by giving you our time, and
I think that means more to people than you realize.
And doing what we can do.
Yeah.
And we have to stop being afraid to tell the truth, and people have to stop being offended by someone telling them the truth.
Yeah, it's like to your point, it's like that as followers of Jesus, we are supposed to be counterculture.
Yeah.
Right? We're of a different kingdom.
Yeah.
And so I think in many ways we have let this culture frame Christmas for us.
Right.
And we're the different people. We're supposed to be of a different mindset, right? So we have to do the work of resisting the pressure of culture to give and give and give and do and do and do and go into debt and have the biggest tree and have the most stuff and so we have to go you know what I mean, it's hard work, right, to go against culture. But we are the resistance.
That's a great point. Yeah,
because we get sucked in at the time of the year when we should shine the most. Like this is the season where we get to talk about Jesus more openly.
Right.
We shouldn't be the one that are bending to culture.
Right, because we're supposed to be the ones filled with joy. Remember that? And so then it's hard to
that thing. Yeah.
But then if you're worn out and in debt, and then you're actually not, and tired and mad at people and like, but Jesus loves you. It's like
I wish you wouldn't have come, and when are you leaving?
And Merry Christmas.
And Merry Christmas.
How do you encourage people then to set some of those boundaries with family gatherings that they're concerned about, things that they're worried might happen, the arguments that might happen, the things that so-and-so might say? Any advice for people? Because people are getting together. And,
well, you can stay out of arguments if you just learn how to be quiet.
Oh, yeah.
There's that thing.
It's
hard, though.
That I already said one of the first books I read of Joyce is My Big Fat Mouth, or
Me and My Big Mouth.
My Big Mouth.
Me too.
I added the fat, but anyway, My Big Mouth, and very convicting. So that's the first thing that gets me in trouble, is my big mouth.
Yeah.
Me too.
So
You know,
like
we
your point of,
honestly, if you just, especially if you're with people that are a little more disruptive, you know, you can tell this is not going to go in a good direction. You can just be quiet.
just eat your mashed potatoes and be
Yeah,
quiet.
eat your potatoes and be quiet.
Do you address it before you start? Like if they're coming to your home, do
You
you?
just say, I'm going to be quiet.
Yeah, there'll be no. This will be a silent meal tonight. No, do you address like the elephant in the room? Like tonight, we're not going to talk about these certain topics because they don't go well, or is it worth bringing up and setting those boundaries up front to the family?
Well, I think if you have people there that almost always argue about politics,
Yeah,
you know, then I don't think it's inappropriate if it's your home to say
Yeah.
tonight politics are
yeah,
off the table. We're just not going to talk about them because it always ends up in an argument. And we're celebrating Jesus' birthday.
yeah.
We don't want to do it by having an argument.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, sometimes we have this sentimental picture in our head of what Christmas should be. So maybe we've watched the movies a lot. And so we have this sentimental picture, and then we have to sit down at the table of our reality.
Yeah.
Right. And it doesn't look like that movie. There's no, peace on earth happening. Right.
There's no peace.
There's no peace happening. And so I think sometimes we have to just be honest that about the reality of the people that we
Yeah.
are at the table with and do life with. And to your point, you can just be quiet but then don't you think it's okay? Like if there is, every time you go to this person's gathering, it always ends up terrible. You don't have to go.
Right.
Like you can just say, this year we're not doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
Our family's going to have something at our house. We're not doing that because every time we go, I come back feeling horrible or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
don't you think you have the
That's
right
great.
to just say we don't have to go?
Absolutely. It's also important to realize that your Christmas doesn't have to be perfect.
Yes.
That if everything doesn't go exactly the way you wanted, if
Right.
everyone doesn't get along perfectly well, Jesus is still
Right.
the point of this celebration. He is still coming
Yeah.
to change all of our lives. And so Christmas does not have to be perfect for that to work.
Yeah.
And I think for us to let go of some of our expectations,
Yes.
Yeah.
it helps a lot.
Yeah.
We had a really hard Christmas last year because Mike's stepdad had just passed away, and then no family was in town. So it ended up just being Mike and I and the two kids, and that's never happened before. So the kids were distraught that they had no grandparents with them. And it was really hard for Mike. There was a lot of grief that weekend, so he was angry, and it was not our best Christmas. It did not look like a Hallmark movie I had just watched. And so I remember crying and thinking this is not what it's supposed to be. But as I look back on that year, there was also something really sweet about how difficult it was because the four of us were together. It was still about Jesus. We were able to talk to the kids more connected about what we were celebrating. And we watched movies all day in our pajamas, and we made memories with what we were given.
Yeah.
And it wasn't perfect and it was painful.
Right.
But I still don't think I would have traded it because it was really special at the same time. So I think that's really important.
Yeah.
It may not look the way we want it to, but that doesn't mean it's not, that can't be special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something that we started doing about 5 years ago is we have a Christmas, one evening, one meal with just our grown children.
That's special.
No grandchildren, just them. Because the day that all the kids open presents, it's just like total chaos. And so my kids realized they didn't even get to see Dave and I open our gifts that they had got us because there was just so much hoopla going on in the room. And the same way with them, And so we started having just that one evening with just them. And then the next day, we do the full family thing.
Oh, that's special.
You need to find what you really can enjoy.
Yes.
And do that instead of saying, well, it has to be on this certain day and it has to be at this certain place. And we have to eat turkey. We can't eat, whatever.
Right.
And simplify it to where you can actually
Enjoy it.
enjoy it.
And then seasons change.
Right.
Right. So what you just said, you do things with your adult children that 20 years ago you weren't doing.
No.
It's different. So I just think being flexible with the changing seasons.
Yeah.
Right. With kids and
Absolutely.
family, and as opposed to sticking to a,
Yeah.
what always was. We have to keep doing that. Or so what do you do? What do you do to keep? Since we're talking about keeping Jesus the center of it, so what do you do? What are some practical things that you do?
I've been so grateful for things that our family set up that we've been able to continue to do. Some of the things like my husband's family, they always would have a birthday cake for Jesus, and it would be just for the little kids, and so they'd light the candles, and it gave a time to tell the story of why we're having Christmas, not just about all the gifts. And then
good.
we would often go
When would you do that? When would you do the birthday cake thing?
It would usually be like early Christmas Eve, not at night, but in the day where all the kids are awake and not grouchy, and they haven't opened so many presents. They just want to play with toys and all those things. But it would just kind of focus things. And or another thing is making sure that we're helping other people in some way. So
Yes.
going somewhere like to a nursing home or to shut-ins in the church and singing to them and spending time with them, or finding a family that we could do something special for and make sure that the kids are aware that they're a part of making a difference in someone else's life. So just pointing everything back to Jesus where you can.
Yep.
But not forgetting all the gifts. It's not like you have to be so focused that you can't have
Fun. Sure.
any of the frivolity. I mean, that's why God set up feasts. He wants
Yeah.
people to celebrate. So finding that balance.
He really liked parties.
Yeah.
He was always having a party and a feast, and they were not optional. They were commanded, and they were days long.
I love it.
Days.
What we started doing in our family is having what we would call a king or queen of Christmas. And so we rotated through all the adult children and let them decide this Christmas, so that way it alternated. It wasn't always the same. So like one person said, we're going to do all handmade gifts. And everybody made something. And then another person said, here's our limit. So we're not spending too much. Right. And then another time it's like, we're not going to do gifts. We're going to play games, and we're going to do these other things instead. Because everybody, something different is important to their heart.
Right.
And it gave it a chance. What was really nice
That's
is
a great idea.
Christmas was different every year, and we loved it.
That's a great
Well,
idea.
and a lot of families have done where they've gotten to the point where there's so many people in the family that they just draw names.
Yeah.
And you get one person a gift. You
Right.
can't-
Yeah, we
I
did
mean,
a lot of that too.
it's silly to go in debt trying to celebrate Jesus' birthday.
Yeah.
It is.
Remember, it's his birthday. He's supposed to get the presents.
Right. What things have you done to keep Jesus at the center?
Like one of the things for us is that like the candlelight service, right? That there's a simplicity to that service.
so beautiful.
I love that one. Right? Even when we were pastoring, and that would have been a work day, in a way, but there's something about the simplicity of that service. And so I just think that when my kids were really little, like that helped paint the picture of Christmas. And then this is like another little random thing, but I would get a nativity scene that was kind of durable. I mean, I had the pretty ones that you put up, but then there's the durable, and I put it on a table like this. And then when my kids were little, they would play with the little figures in there, and we would talk about, all the little characters in that nativity because they were small enough. So I just think there's things you do with different ages, but anyway, just a couple. And then we also did what you just said. We would find a family that we would all go shop for. So we would go shopping and remind them that this is what it's actually all about.
Yeah.
So good.
One of the things we do when we have our adult children is before anybody's allowed to open their gift, they have to talk about things they're already thankful for that God's done for them.
That's good. That's a great reminder. Erin, you brought up the fact that your Christmas was so different last year after you had lost Mark. Well, what are some things that you would encourage people with to get through the hard Christmases with grief or with a change, maybe a new diagnosis or who knows what,
Sure.
but where there's just a heaviness at Christmas?
For for
Why are
us,
you all looking at me? She asked you.
but you know the answers. So for us, it was important that we just accepted that that's what was happening. Like there was tension already, and we needed to identify that this is what we're experiencing it. And so putting words to the fact that we are feeling grief this Christmas helped us kind of understand why we felt so strange and just off. And then it helped us kind of process, okay, now how does this look now? What are we going to do that's different? When Mike was used to doing the Christmas gifts with Mark the night before, and now we can't do that, what new thing can we do? And also just sitting in it. I mean, it was just sad. So we just needed to just talk about it and just accept that that's kind of where we were and not push past it. And we talked about Mark. We would remember stories about Christmas with him. But
allow yourself to feel it.
Because it's uncomfortable and you don't want to. And I don't want to feel sad on Christmas because we're missing somebody. But also, at the same time, like, he was with Jesus for his birthday.
Yeah.
And that is so amazing. So you're getting kind of all of it together. So we just needed to talk about those as a family.
Yeah.
And there's just like a lot of, I'm sure there are people watching this that got divorced this year. And so now they're going to be stepping into a Christmas that's very different. And maybe
totally
they have to share the kids. And so it's creating a new normal, right? It's creating something new. And again, that's that part of not getting so sentimental about what was. And so what can we do this year? Right. So maybe you're a woman's watching this, and so this year the kids are with the ex-husband, so she's by herself.
Yeah.
Right.
So now, so find something to do that day. Go serve somewhere. Go feed people. Go hang out with your girlfriends. It's just like do something different, right? As opposed to just sitting at home being mad.
Yeah.
Something
Which is an
I
option.
think.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Something I think some people do, and I don't mean this. I understand people that are grieving or that they've had a loss, but I watched my aunt, whose husband, my uncle, died probably 25 years before she did. And she would plan to be miserable on his birthday. And she would plan to be miserable on their anniversary. And plan to be miserable at Christmas, Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be.
No.
You know, you could look at it, like you said, a different way. This is had a lot of good years.
Right.
Things are different this year.
Right.
But would the person you lost actually want you to be miserable?
Right.
That's a great question.
That's a really good question.
Yeah. There's probably almost a guilt, like I shouldn't
be having
Oh,
fun because
absolutely.
they're not
Yeah.
here.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
A lot of people do think that. They think that if they have a problem with one of their kids, they can't be happy. It just wouldn't be right. And you can and you should be.
That's important to hear.
Yeah, give yourself some permission
Yeah.
that it's okay to experience joy, which is very different than being happy in your circumstances.
Right.
But
There's always a
I love that.
positive way to look at everything. Like, you know, I like we used to do funerals, and now most people do what they call a celebration of life service. And that sounds so much better
It does.
than a funeral because that person had a life and
Yeah.
there were a lot of good things to say about them, and find a way to keep everything positive. And I don't mean that you don't grieve. I don't mean that you're not hurting. I get it. I understand it.
Right.
I don't mean what I said to sound bad, but let's just say somebody's been gone 5 years. I mean, do you still really have to make that day miserable?
Right. Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think it pleases God, and I don't think it would please the person that you lost.
So some of the things we want to encourage people to do as they go into this holiday season is not to be so caught up in all of the to-dos and all of the things that have to get done that you miss the miracles in the moment.
You can say no to a party if you want to.
Yes.
That's good. You could say no to a family gathering if you need to, if it's healthier for you.
Like if we're so busy that we aren't reading our Bible.
Yeah. Really good point, Holly.
Yeah. Remember?
Yeah.
But that's what happens. Like
does.
especially this time of year, you get so busy doing things that you're not even reading your Bible.
Not to overspend.
Yep.
Give yourself the freedom not to get in debt and to say no if you need to gifts. So setting some healthy boundaries.
Very good.
And if things need to be done differently, just set your mind to do them differently, and don't grieve over all the years that you did it this way that you can't do it that way anymore.
Yeah. Don't expect Christmas to be perfect because nothing is, and that's okay too.
Expectations are a big one.
Yeah.
I think that is.
And largely do remember what Christmas is all about.
Yes. Yeah. I think we can often be surprised what God does. Like you were saying, looking back at it now, it was a special time, even though it was so painful, that God can amaze us and bring us gifts and supernatural peace and things that we never expected when we give it to Him and celebrate who He is above everything else.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And one of the stories I remember, I've actually used this story. I do still give Joyce credit for it. By the fifth time I used it, I probably won't. But just kidding. But just the story about Ruth going through the field of Boaz, and so she was in a pretty horrible season, right? It was not a normal season, and so she's in that field, and Boaz had told his workers to leave some handfuls of grain for her. On purpose. And so he, even in the midst of the hard time, she found some handfuls. And so I just think that this Christmas might be a really hard season for people, but are you looking for handfuls? Because God's giving them to you. Right? There are those handfuls.
This is Romans 15:13. It says, "May the God of your hope so fill you with all joy and peace in believing through the experience of your faith, that by the power of the Holy Spirit you may abound and be overflowing, bubbling over with hope." And that is our prayer for all of you this Christmas, whatever the situation is. And I know some of you may be going through really hard times, and we're sorry. But God is in the midst of that hard time too, and He's grieving with you and loving you through it. And through all the hecticness and your schedule and all the pressure that you feel, the things that maybe you have to do for work or for family, whatever it may be, just keep giving it to Him. Keep giving it to Him. Ask Him to tell you when to say no. Ask Him to tell you who you should reach out to help. And we really believe that this Christmas season for you can be something so much more than you ever imagined, that the wonder of the Lord will just encompass you and love you in a way that you never knew possible. We love you all. Thank you so much, Holly.
Thanks for having me.
We
I
always
love talking about Christmas.
love having you here with us. Me too. And girls, love you both.
Love you.
Love you, love you, love you.
And we'll see you all next time.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.